Easter eggs and details you might have missed in Doctor Who Episode 6, Rogue. So this episode is of course one big Bridgerton homage, so I made sure to watch it with my partner, who helped clue me in on those connections. Bridgerton, for those who don't know, is a romance drama on Netflix about a royal family in the 1800s, which just so happens to be when this episode is set. Ain't that crazy? The episode is also set in Bath, which funny enough is where they film Bridgerton. The argument we hear in the cold open about a guy not marrying this guy's sister even though they kissed or something, that is a storyline apparently pulled from Bridgerton itself around its first season. This episode was written by Kate Herron, who wrote for another show with a very similar British time traveler, Loki. She came into this wanting to do a queer romance story, something this show's lead, Russell T Davies, actually criticized about when it came to Loki, because that show kind of implied Loki being bisexual with like clever lighting and a one-off line, rather than just saying it outright. Apparently the two have made amends and here we are. This episode also features quite a few dance sequences choreographed by Jack Murphy, who not only choreographed the dance sequence in The Devil's Cord, but also is the choreographer for Bridgerton itself. The Doctor gives Ruby a psychic implant that gives her the ability to dance, but also has a battle mode feature, warning her not to use it. A subtle Chekhov's gun, if you will, for her to use later on. The Doctor's costume here was designed by Pam Down to be an homage to the third Doctor's suave style from back in the day, also one of Shutigato's personal favourite Doctors. The Doctor tells Ruby to try to not get engaged, a foreshadow to the climax of the episode, and not to invent tarmac because 1902 got away from him. 1902 is the exact year that tarmac was invented. Ruby finds a portrait of Susan Twist, the actress who made a short appearance in every episode of this season so far. And yes, that mystery is going to be a key plot point of the next episode. The Doctor uses the red sonic screwdriver to catch sonic interference here of another alien mystery man, Rogue, played by Jonathan Groff. And no, please don't ask me why he has multiple colors. I don't know, I don't understand. When the duo have their first meet cute, we can hear an orchestral version of Billie Eilish's Bad Guy. Now this was common practice in Bridgerton to use orchestral versions of modern songs, one of the most famous being Taylor Swift's Wildest Dream. Now Groff based his portrayal on Han Solo from Star Wars, although it doesn't bother me that he never fires his gun. Han would never. His ship is bird themed, and I'm not certain why this isn't the Childers ship. Like maybe he stole it from them, I don't know, but like why would he be in the bird ship and not the bird characters? I noticed the interior of the ship looks eerily similar to the Doctor's old grungier designs from his 9th and 10th era, which is why I think he's quick to call out its mess. Between this and Rogue having lost someone, I think the Doctor can very much relate to Rogue, two lone travelers who have loved and have lost. When Rogue puts him in the triform, the Doctor says, "My name's Bond, molecular bond," a play on the 007 catchphrase. But then we're told that it's deadlocked, a word that basically means sonic screwdrivers can't unlock it. But they can be used as a microscope apparently, where he finds D&D dices, and seeing that he gets his name from Dungeons and Dragons, with the Rogue being a class of character from that game. And he's a fan of Kylie Minogue, which yes was a funny scene, but also means that Rogue must also be a time traveler, since both Kylie Minogue and D&D are a couple centuries ahead of 1813. The Doctor tries to use psychic paper to convince Rogue, but it just says "you're hot." Now psychic paper lets the person who reads it see what the Doctor is thinking of, and in this case he finds that Rogue is hot. Rogue scans the Doctor to find multiple faces of his incarnations 1 through 14, as well as the War Doctor, the Fugitive Doctor, and the Shauka Doctor. This being the version of the Doctor played by Richard E. Grant in an animated series. Technically that was him playing the 9th Doctor, but I guess now it's canon according to Russell T Davies. It doesn't fully make sense if you think about it for long enough, but you know what? I'll take it. Later on, the TARDIS lets out a strange growl, the same one that it made back in the Devil's Cord. Now this will be explained in the next episode, The Legend of Ruby Sunday, but if you look back on previous episodes, the TARDIS has been behaving pretty strangely, crash landing multiple times, roaring at the Doctor. Now after a bit of discussion, the gang discover that the Childar are attracted to Scandal, doing all of this because they are literal Bridgerton fans. So the Doctor and Rogue dance together to draw them out, because nothing would shock a party of multi-ethnic guests run by an Indian Duchess in 1813 more than gay people. Yeah, given the context, this is a strange thing for them to consider a scandal. They fake an argument to build the drama, and then Rogue proposes to the Doctor. Now this leaves him speechless, and he says that he can't, seemingly all a part of the act, but also it possibly could have reminded him of his late wife, River Song. The Doctor may feel the need to be more reserved when it comes to that after losing her too. And then plot twist, Emily was a Cholder too, seemingly killing Ruby, but then Ruby uses her battle mode of her psychic earrings and cosplays to survive amongst them. That scene hilariously scored with Poker Face by Lady Gaga, fitting considering she had had to keep her poker face to blend in. The Doctor then flashes back to a conversation he had with Carla, promising to keep Ruby safe. And I think this is probably going to come back in the finale. I think something's going to happen to Ruby and it's going to really affect the Doctor and his relationship with her parents. In this case, thinking Ruby died, the Doctor commits to making the children suffer for their long lifetimes. A very similar rage to what we saw in the Family of Blood. The Doctor accidentally traps Ruby with the children in the Triform, but Rogue saves her, giving his life and telling the Doctor to find him, not before giving him a big fat smooch. As the episode ends, the Doctor tells Ruby onwards and upwards, because that's what he's used to after losing those that he cares about so many times. But this Doctor does something that previous Doctors may not have always done. This one accepts Ruby being with him, a more evolved and healed Doctor. While this is his first major loss in this form, he is much better equipped to handling his grief. The Doctor dons the ring, which seems to have a dagger on it, because that's what rogues use in D&D, of course, saluting his new love until next time. And that's the tea.